Greetings, yogis. This is Derek with Denver Yoga Underground. We're just on the tail end of Yoga Teacher Training Program, and I have some insights and reflections about the role and the scope and the importance and the direction of yoga teaching. So you may find this interesting if you're a student, as well as if you're an established or aspiring yoga teacher. So to begin, yoga teachers occupy somewhat of a liminal space. They're at the crossroads or confluence of quite a number of different disciplines or orientations, including some sort of physical activity or orientation in the mode of the asanas, and understanding of the physicality of the poses could range from the most kind of boilerplate type of approach, just do these things, on up to something of a more kind of yoga therapy kind of scope, where we're actively working with people who have injuries or their bodies are compromised and stuff. So there's a great range of capacity or ability to hold space or meet the needs of people on a wide variety or diverse ends of the spectrum in terms of skill. And what's more, there's a dimension of yoga practice dedicated to kind of mental awareness and moreover mental wellness, you could say. So as a yoga teacher, we're holding space for mental clarity, for sattvic energy within the mind, to being able to cultivate one-pointed focus or attention or spacious awareness. So some sort of training or direction in terms of managing our mental state is also part of the job description of being a yoga teacher. Now, some of that happens just passively by virtue of the dynamic yoga asana or something like it just rubs off into people's minds, and we can be really skillful and thoughtful and deliberate about how we're managing the mental space within our classroom. So something and perhaps antithetical to this might be like moving around so fast that we lose connection or attention or focus to the kind of richness of the experience, the immediacy of the experience of say, the asanas or something like breathing, but to move at such a pace that we can be mindful about our own process and self-reflection. These are important dimensions of an integrated yoga practice, not to mention meditation, right? So different meditations bring out different potentials and capacities. I mentioned mindfulness. That's one dimension of meditative practice, but there's also more dynamic kriyas that are invoking particular energies, whether it be the energy of confidence and courage or healing or inspiration. There's any number of meditations that kind of sculpt the mind space. And there's a segmented role within the larger culture called therapy that tends to attend to the wellness of the mind, and they have their particular methodologies and skill sets, and that there's a very dedicated place for the importance and value in that approach. And from what I've heard from students and as well as professionals, yoga classes can be as therapeutic as those as a more formal therapy kind of relationship. So the point being that there's a deep potential in this kind of mental realm of the yoga practice, and that as teachers, there's some we want to be mindful of that and thoughtful about that and take that into consideration. And then this larger arc of spiritual integration, which gets more into the deeper principles or texts or scriptures that kind of give a kind of roadmap for a higher potential or our deepest essence, and and what are some kind of signposts for realizing that? And moreover, what are the methodologies and techniques that bring forth our deepest recognition of a deeper essence? So yoga teacher is kind of at the crossroads of many different human potentials, be they physical, mental, or spiritual. There's kind of a spectrum of abilities as a yoga teacher. How gifted or capable are we at holding space for this deeper yogic pursuit of total integration? And on one end of the spectrum, there's more of a, say, instructor kind of approach, right? And this is where we just roll out, say, a boilerplate kind of sequence where we may have some intimate appreciation and understanding of it, but it's more about delivering the cues. Now do this, now do that, and do that, do that. And there's tremendous value in that. This equation starts to shift when we become, as a yoga teacher, become more observant. That is, looking at and observing the particular needs of any particular student at every particular moment, and then adjusting our instruction or even the sequence or the progression according to their specific needs in that moment. That's the point where we start adopting or holding space more as a teacher. So we're not instructing a list of things to do, but rather we're speaking to a specific need in that specific moment based on direct observation, as well as, there's some intuitive heart in our understanding or ability to see our students. And then, further on in the spectrum, I'd mentioned yoga therapists, where they have a kind of there's more advanced training. They're seeing even more deeply into, say, bodily pathology through the asana. And then even further on down the road or spectrum is the classical position of the guru or the master, or somebody who's realized yoga's fullest potential, embodies that space, and can teach or present from that recognition or embodied recognition or knowing. And there's a certain authority in his or her words, where they could be saying the same thing that an instructor or teacher, but there's a gravity to an import to their manner just based on the depth of their realization. So that's another end of the spectrum. In any case, whether you're an instructor, a teacher, therapist, or guru, the larger intent here, the most kind of essential kernel or seed or touchstone that's always really important to come back to, and that's our role is to empower the student to discover their own inner teacher. So an awakening of their own intelligence or higher intelligence, or more in touch with the richness of their intuition, or more empowered in their ability to make life choices, more empowered and understand their own health and wellness, their relationships within the communities, to be more loving within their home, right? So as teachers, we're holding space for those higher virtues or blossoming within the student. And there may come a point where our abilities are limited. Like we can take the students so far based on our own kind of capacity and our own realization and so forth. There may be a moment where we need to acknowledge that, like, I've taken you as far as you can go. I suggest going here, here, here. There's these other masters who can bring forth your deeper potential to see towards your higher fulfillment. So, always deferring back to the students in the spirit of reverence and support and bringing out their very best. This can happen deliberately through, prescribed methodologies, like, specific practices to enhance their confidence, say, or other capacities. But it also just, it rubs off through time. Like if you have returning students, they start to understand themselves better just by virtue of coming to class on a regular basis and doing the methodologies. And you could say one simple thing that doesn't really like occur to you as particularly profound or important, but to them, at that moment, it lands. It's like a seed gets awakened in their heart or in their attention or sense of self. Or we don't know when kind of the kernel moment is going to occur, but as teachers, we're kind of holding space for that perpetually, and they kind of absorb at their own rate or pace. So one way, another standard we can consider as yoga teachers is that our role is less about like telling people to do things, do this, do that, stand, breathe here, this, that. It's less about that, and I invite us to consider our responsibility is more to deliver an experience, that is a reflection of a particular yogic principle or precept. So, harmony, for example, or integration, or stillness, or there's any number of yogic virtues that we can draw upon, or connection to pranic energy, or boundless love. Like this, as I said, number of things that we can cultivate that fall within the great meta matrix of yoga that we can hone in on and offer or provide in our class space, that they have a realized understanding of what it really means to be still. And that's an embodied understanding. And that's very distinct from a kind of list of do this, do that. Do this, do that towards what particular end. That's the delivery of an experience. So, as you get, better at all this as a yoga teacher, I would like to consider having a depth of understanding as to how to do the methodologies, why to do the methodologies, and when. And then what's more, and this is the part that, we might immediately kind of gravitate towards or uphold, and that's our ability to articulate or convey or teach the lesson, right? Like our ability as a presenter, as someone who can hold space, as someone who can teach the teachings of yoga, all the particular hows and whys that go behind it, but how we wrap that all up. Some of that has to do with our disposition and personality and skill. There's methodologies we can draw upon as well. Okay, final point. And this is a way for us to mature as yoga teachers. And that is to go into class with a specific end goal or intention that is a reflection of a particular yogic virtue or principle or idea or pursuit, a noble pursuit. I named several of them here, such as equanimity, such as peace of mind, such as loving more fully. There's any number of ways that we can couch this yoga process. And you could start by developing a game plan for one particular class. What are the asana, pranayama, meditation, bandhas, mantras, bhav, or like atmospheric feeling. These are 6 important points of reference for how you can angulate your way into the felt experience. Start with one class and you can mature or grow into, or maybe you're ready to do this right now, selecting a particular theme for the month and then develop that, plot it out, write it down, how you're going to go further and further and deeper into a particular theme over the course of a month. And I found this to be tremendously helpful. Just put some dedicated time on the front end, think it through a bit, as opposed to rolling into class and just kind of reacting to who's there. And this will begin to nurture the spirit of being a teacher, right? Like here we are studying yoga over a longer trajectory. Themes I've explored in the past include like connection to prana, or the use of bandhas, or hatha yoga as a system, or tantra, or blessings of the muse, looking at poetic renderings of the yoga process and embodying them more fully. Okay, big talk today. Thank you so much. I encourage you as yoga teachers to reflect and consider some of these ideas. Maybe you have some of your own ideas you'd like to share. Love to hear that. Other suggestions for presentations, questions you might have, happy to answer those, or maybe even do a video on them. And as students, I just invite us to be mindful of our own progression and journey and connection, relationship with teacher, and how we're evolving in the path. That's ongoing. That's you. That's me. That's all of us, drawing closer to the great heartbeat of the creation. Thank you all, my blessed friends. Subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, all the same, whatever manner or form you may be taking. Om, peace on the path.